The first thing we need to talk about are what are conversion factors. Conversion factors. You're going to use the conversion factors that you see on your sheet of paper, this little quarter sheet of paper that I gave you. If you are converting between things that are in the English system, the things that we use in the United States, like inches to feet or feet to yards or yards to miles, if we're talking about volume, we're talking about cups to ounces or pints to quarts or quarts to gallons, or weight when we use ounces to pounds and pounds to tons, that's all what we use in the United States. If you are anywhere else, like Canada, Mexico, or Europe, they use the metric system. They go meters to kilometers, centimeters to meters, meters to centimeters, millimeters to liters, and so on and so forth. Or if we need to convert going from our units of measurement to theirs, we have some other things that we'll use like length and volume and weight. What's not on here that you will also need to use is stuff with time. So let's just write down time on there. I'm expecting you to know how many seconds are in a minute. Let's just write that. Seconds to minutes. How many seconds are in a minute?
60.
60 seconds equals 1 minute. If you didn't know that already. Let's put that on your chart. And 1 minute is equal to how many hours? 1 minute is how many hours?
0.
0 hours. 1 hour is how many minutes?
60.
So let's change this to 60 minutes is 1 hour, since I was thinking it but I did not say it. And there's only one other one here. Hours to days. Days, hours. What are we going to put?
24 hours in a day.
24 hours equals 1 day. So those are the things that I thought you would all know, but I figured we might as well write them down just in case you need them. These are all conversion factors, but they don't give them to you as a fraction. And today we're going to be writing them down as a fraction. Okay? Conversion factors are equal to 1. And they're written as a fraction. Let me give you an example of a conversion factor. Here's an example. 1 yard is 3 feet. 1 yard is 3 feet. That is a conversion factor. Because 1 yard is the same thing as 3 feet, we can multiply by 1. This is considered that if we multiply it by something, we're multiplying by 1 and it's going to be itself. I'll give you another example. One more. If I said, how many centimeters are in an inch? There are 2.54 centimeters in 1 inch. That's a conversion factor. So basically, in my own words, what's a conversion factor? It's basically a fraction with 2 equivalent units of measurement. That's what it is. Okay? So here's what we're going to do today. We're going to do an example like number 1, which will look like this. 12 inches is blank centimeters. Scooting this up a little bit. When your problem is written like this, where it says 12 inches, semicolon, centimeters, it's saying you have 12 inches. How many centimeters is that? So the first thing I want you to do is to write down your problem, including units. Write down problem, including units. The problem that I have here is 12 what? 12 inches. 12 inches. I say that on purpose because so many of you have been ignoring the units that we're talking about. I need to include the units. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply by a conversion factor. Multiply by the conversion factor. What that looks like is this. Parenthesis, and give yourself some room. I have a very big parenthesis here because I'm going to have some numbers in it and I'm going to have units in it. What you are going to have to decide is we have inches and we are wanting to go to centimeters, so we're going to have to use a conversion factor that has inches and centimeters in it. Sometimes you will have inches on top. Sometimes you're going to have inches on bottom. But here's how you know where it goes. If you have inches on top over here, you want that to go away, and you will need inches on bottom for it to go away. If you want inches to go away, it needs to be in the opposite place as where it currently is. I want inches to go away, so it's in the top. I want it in the bottom. And I'm trying to go from inches to centimeters. Let's see if I have an inches to centimeters on this piece of paper. Do you have an inches to centimeters?
Yes.
We can use this as a conversion factor. 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. So let's fill that in. 1 inch on bottom is equal to 2.54 centimeters. If you set up your fractions right, inches on top and inches on bottom will cancel out. If you set up your fractions right, you can actually cancel these two things out. Does that make sense? If you have these in the wrong spot, they will not cancel out. They have to have one on top and one on bottom for them to cancel out. And then if I've done this right, the units that are left over are centimeters. So now all I have left to do is to multiply. Number 3. Multiply all the tops divided by all the bottoms multiplied. Multiply all the tops divided by all the bottoms multiplied. And the reason why I say that is because in this problem we only have one conversion factor. But in future problems, you may have 2 or 3 conversion factors. I multiply the top times the top, divided by the bottom times the bottom. And here's the bottom times the bottom. 1 times 1. Sometimes you can do that in your head. I recommend you use the calculator, and I also recommend you use the fraction button on the calculator. 12 times Fraction button, 2.54 over 1. Most of you can do that part in your head. If your calculator gives it to you as a fraction, go ahead and give it to me as a decimal. And I believe your directions on your homework will say round to the nearest tenth. This is the tenths place. 30.5. 30.5. I'm going to put in approximately. That means I rounded. It's a wavy equal sign. 30.5 centimeters. See how that works?
Kind of.
What we're doing is we're multiplying by a fraction, and we want the denominator to cancel out with a numerator. So that's what I wrote here. We want a denominator to cancel out with a numerator. This inches canceled out with that inches. That way we're left with a centimeter. Let's do a harder one. Number 2. 528 centimeters to yards. So, first thing I'm going to do, write down the problem including the units. 528 centimeters is the very first thing I write down with the units, centimeters. Now, I don't have anything that says centimeters to yards. I have centimeters here to inches. And I have centimeters to meters. But I have nothing that says centimeters to yards. So I'm going to have to pick a conversion factor. What do you think, Blake?
Why couldn't we just do, like, since it says inches to yards, right?
Inches to yards, okay.
So
inches to yards. No, we have inches to feet, and we have feet to yards.
Yeah, you could do that.
Okay, but do I have centimeters? How am I going to get rid of centimeters? I need centimeters is equal to something. Still need something. What do I have here that I can use? Let's use this. Centimeters to inches. Okay? I'm going to multiply. And here's my question to you. I want you to not tell me. I want you to tell the person you're sitting next to. What unit is going to go on bottom? Tell the person you're sitting next to. I heard lots of people say it right. Centimeters. It has to. It's the one thing I want to cancel out. And what can I convert it to that I know of? It says it right here on my chart. That goes on top. Notice I'm writing down the units every single time. You have to get used to writing these with fractions, and you have to get used to writing down the units included. It will make what we do in the harder problems easier. How many centimeters are an inch? It says it right there, 2.54 for every 1 inch. Now, I haven't done anything on the calculator yet, but here's what I want to do. Do centimeters cancel out? If one's on top, the denominator and the numerator, can cancel them out. So technically, this is what I will be in. I will be in inches. Is that what I want to be in?
No.
So, can we go from inches to yards? Let's look. I have inches to feet. So we're going to have to do inches to feet. Tell the person you're sitting next to what's going to go on bottom. Oh, I heard mixed answers. What do I want canceling out? I want inches to cancel out. Inches are on bottom, feet are on top. Because I want inches to cancel out. How many inches are in a foot?
12.
Oh,
12 inches are in 1 foot. The inches will cancel out because one's in the numerator, one's in the denominator. Guess what units I'm in right now? We're in feet. Is that what I want?
No.
I want in. So I have to multiply by a third conversion factor, which is what's going to go on bottom? What's going to go on top? Okay, what's on bottom? What's on top?
Yards.
How many yards?
No.
How many feet? Good. This problem had 3 conversion factors. Do not shy away from using more than one conversion factor. And when I set up my problems, I will have the original thing with units multiplied by a fraction with the units, with a fraction with the units, and a fraction with the units. And the very last step. Feet will cancel, don't they? I'll be left with yards. This is what I punch in. I take 528, and then I times it by, use the fraction button, 1 over 2.54, another fraction button, times another fraction, 1 over 12, another fraction. Now, did I have to do all that by hand, or am I just letting the calculator do all the work? Let the calculator do the work. That's what I expect from you. I don't want it as a fraction. What does that mean? This means 5.77 yards. Let's round to the nearest tenth. How many yards? About 5.8 yards. Question.
Why couldn't you just write 36 inches on the top and do 36 over 2.54
36 where?
on inches?
Here?
Yeah.
Because there's only 2.54 centimeters in every single inch. That's what this says. They have to be equal to each other to fit in here.
So then
If
do
you would have went,
2.54 times. So if you do 2.54 times 3, and then write that fraction below there, and then write 36 above that.
So you could over here say that there's 36 inches in 1 yard if you're trying to skip something. You can do that. But that's not on our piece of paper. I'm trying to use the paper for every single conversion factor. Okay? Any other questions? Do you get an idea of how to do this?
Yep.